welcome. I'm Kasia Madeira. This is The Context on BBC News. Police arrest a man on suspicion of murdering the former British government minister and television personality Anne Widdecombe. Wildfires in southern Spain kill at least 12 people. 4 of them are believed to be British. At least 23 others are still missing. Ryanair admits that an aeroplane cabin window dislodged mid-air. People on board say a passenger was nearly sucked out. Plans to stop vapes being marketed in ways that appeal to children. A consultation is underway to introduce plain packaging. Buckingham Palace announces that Prince Harry, Meghan and their children have met with King Charles and Queen Camilla. Spain fails Belgium in the World Cup semi-finals. These are live images from watch parties in Brussels and Madrid. Hello and welcome. Police have arrested a 26-year-old man in connection with the murder of the former government minister Anne Widdecombe. Officers were called to an address in Dartmoor in Devon in the southwest of England on Thursday morning. They said that Ms Widdecombe had sustained serious injuries. Anne Widdecombe served as a member of Parliament for the Conservative Party for more than 2 decades and was a government minister in the 1990s. A staunch campaigner for Brexit, in later life she acted as a spokesperson for the right-wing populist Reform UK party. Well, Helena Wilkinson has our first report.
It was in her house in Dartmoor where Anne Widdecombe was found dead yesterday. In a shocking development this afternoon, police said they were now treating her death as murder.
We can confirm that a 26-year-old man was arrested at an address in Newton Abbot this afternoon on suspicion of the murder of Anne Widdecombe. The suspect, who is a white British national, remains in police custody whilst the inquiries continue. Officers were called to Miss Widdecombe's home at Haytor by the ambulance service around 11:40 a.m. on Thursday the 9th of July. Sadly, 78-year-old Miss Widdecombe was located deceased within the property. She has sustained serious injuries.
This was a former MP and Conservative minister just 2 days ago, talking about the Clacton by-election. She had switched parties to support reform. This evening, the Prime Minister gave his reaction to a murder inquiry being launched into her death.
Well, this is really shocking news. And my thoughts, I think all of our thoughts, will be with the family and friends of Anne Widdecombe at this awful time for them. Anne was a distinguished politician over many, many years with many achievements, and it's a huge, huge loss.
At a defence-related visit in Portsmouth earlier, the Conservative leader gave her reaction.
I'm stunned. To be honest, I don't really have the words for what we've discovered has happened. Anne Widdecombe was 78 years old. She was a fun and very feisty person, but she was an elderly person. I don't understand how someone could do something like this. It's a nasty, horrific attack.
Neighbours have also been reacting to the news.
I'm devastated. I'm shocked, and I just can't believe it. In this lovely setting where we live, it's so peaceful, and I'm just absolutely devastated.
Outside Anne Widdecombe's home this evening, there's a heavy police presence. Specialist officers are carrying out forensic investigations in this murder inquiry, piecing together exactly how one of the country's most well-known politicians died. Helena Wilkinson, BBC News.
Anne Widdecombe had a long career in politics, where she was known for her forthright views and strong belief in traditional values. After politics, she became known to a wider audience through reality TV, taking part in shows like Strictly Come Dancing and Celebrity Big Brother. Nick Eardley looks back at her life.
Anne Widdecombe was a politician who spoke her mind, even when it was unpopular. Forthright, unflinching, and often adventurous. She was first elected to Parliament in 1987 when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister.
It's a great opportunity that we've been given, and like Mrs Thatcher, I think it's a very major trust which we must discharge.
She served as a junior minister under John Major, most notably as Prisons Minister, where she faced controversy when it emerged that pregnant women were being handcuffed in hospital. She also attacked her former boss at the Home Office, Michael Howard, over his handling of the sacking of a senior prisons official.
We demean our high office if we mistreat our public servants.
She is perfectly entitled to disagree with my judgment. There is no basis for her attack on my integrity.
She later famously said Howard had something of the night about him, damaging his chances in the 1997 Tory leadership campaign. He spoke to the BBC before the police investigation was announced.
I was very sorry to hear of Anne's passing. She was a very feisty lady, and we worked together in the Home Office. We did, as you said, have our ups and downs. But I was really sorry to hear of her passing.
Widdecombe was a devout Catholic and a social conservative who opposed abortion. Her frank approach was refreshing to some, controversial to others.
I can't possibly tell you what I've got.
She left Parliament in 2010, but soon won over a new generation of admirers, the first prominent ex-politician to take part in Strictly Come Dancing. She was also runner-up on the 2018 series of Celebrity Big Brother. Brexit brought her back to politics. In 2019, she was elected an MEP for the Brexit Party and was expelled by the Tories for her candidacy.
We are going, and we are glad to be going.
She later joined Reform UK, recently serving as their immigration and justice spokesperson. Nigel Farage paid tribute today, saying the voters loved her. She played a decisive role in getting Brexit over the line and will be missed by us all. Boris Johnson paid tribute too, calling her a heroic Brexiteer and a great speaker who could move Tory audiences to such ecstasy that she was a very hard act to follow. Anne Widdecombe will be remembered as a conviction politician, but also a colourful character.
Remembering Anne Widdecombe, who is no longer with us, police have launched a murder investigation into her death. She was 78. Now let's turn to the war in Ukraine and some revealing research by the BBC, which shows that at least 3,500 foreigners have died fighting for Russia. Well, the BBC Russian service maintains a list of named service personnel who've been killed, although the actual number is likely to be much higher. Well, we can speak to my colleague, BBC Russian correspondent Olga Ivshina, who joins us live. Olga, what have you found in your investigation?
So, yeah, as you rightly said, together with our colleagues from Media Zone and a team of volunteers, we're verifying deaths of people who are fighting on the Russian side in Ukraine using open source information. So these would have some confirmation. And yeah, we have verified deaths of over 3,580 soldiers from 42 countries. And the geography is vast, from US and Ecuador to Vietnam and Sri Lanka and a number of African countries. So really, really stark in geography here.
And so what do we know about these foreign fighters?
So the majority, quite unsurprisingly, we managed to establish are fighters from North Korea. So at least 2,304 fighters from North Korea have died. It has been verified via military memorial with their names in North Korean capital. This was verified by BBC Korean service. We also managed to verify identities of more than 1,200 fighters from 42 different countries. And since we know their names and where exactly they're from and their biographies, we managed to see there were three big steps in which Russia was recruiting foreigners. So first, they were concentrating on recruiting prisoners. It was this opportunity was open for both Russian citizens and foreigners, and it seems for many people this opportunity appealed. They were given the chance to serve for 6 or 12 months on the front line in exchange for freedom. This source has exhausted itself mostly in 2024. Then Russia has ramped up the bonus for sign-ups for the new contracts, and then it seems this perspective became interesting for people from countries which struggle economically, like Yemen, Nepal, Cuba. But now it seems since late 2025, Russian recruiters, Russian authorities are concentrating on migrants, so people who go to Russia to work or to study, and they try to put them under pressure to sign contracts with the Russian army. And also the recruitment in Africa is quickly ramping up.
And Olga, briefly, if you would, but how do you begin collating these numbers?
So we're using open source information, pictures from the war memorials, graves, statements from relatives, statements from fighters who survived. That's how we do. But also we have a name-by-name list of all we managed to confirm fighters who died for the Russian side. It has more than 233,000 names. So it shows you that foreign fighters built only 2% of that number.
Olga Ivchina, thank you so much for your reporting, for our BBC Russian correspondent. Thank you. Now, wildfires have killed at least 12 people in the southern Spanish province of Almeria, with 4 British people thought to be among the dead. 23 people are still missing. Several victims were found in their cars. Firefighters are trying to contain the blaze that witnesses say was caused by a downed power line during a heat wave. Emergency services say that they're fighting a terrible and very complex fire, which is spreading very fast. The Andalusian regional government has declared 3 days of mourning for the victims of the fire in Los Gallardos. Spain's military emergency unit, which is deployed in major emergencies, said that it would join firefighting efforts there. It comes after repeated extreme heat waves across Western Europe, with temperatures peaking at over 40 degrees in parts of Spain. Nick Beak has more from the scene of these fires.
For the last couple of hours we've been driving towards the site of this wildfire, but we've just stopped at the side of the road here because of what we saw out the window. Flames up there on the hillside. This part of Spain is still burning, despite the fact that just a few seconds ago we saw the firefighters go overhead and they were dumping large amounts of water on those flames. It seems to the naked eye to have made an impact very, very briefly, but the problem is here with the wind and the surroundings being so dry here, the fire spreads extremely quickly, and that is what happened overnight with this devastating fire. We know at least 12 people killed, dozens missing, and so this place is really trying to work out what happened, but they're concerned about what may come in the coming days and weeks. But for now, a lot of people, they're in grief, they're in shock really after what's happened.
Our thanks to Nick Beak. Well, we can cross live to Spain, where we can talk to 2 people who thankfully have escaped these wildfires. Riaz Chaitan and Lucinda Courtois are on holiday in Spain with your kids. You fled Bedar, which is not far from where Los Gallardos is, where our correspondent was, and the fires there last night. Just firstly, how on earth are you?
We're okay, thank you. We're safe. We're in a hotel, and there's quite a lot of people from the village with us, and luckily everybody's okay.
My goodness, thank goodness. But what an experience. How are the kids?
They were terrified. We left our home to evacuate, and we hit a wall of fire and weren't able to get through our access road, and sort of had to turn around and do a panic evacuation.
My goodness, we're watching some of the images that you very kindly shared to us, and it just looks absolutely harrowing. When it comes to the access roads, just talk us through how you even begin to flee from the place where you were.
So I think the road we took the video on, was actually the main road out of town. So when we got to the bottom and we couldn't get any further, we had to do a quick turn, go back up the other way, and then you do wonder if you're going further into the fire or not, because there's no direction or guidance. So it was very much a chance thing that we went the way we did and not further into the fire.
Because we know that authorities in Spain are saying stick to the evacuation routes, but yours was obviously blocked.
We weren't actually given any evacuation routes because we weren't actually told either to evacuate. It was more a case of neighbours saying we should consider leaving, so we did.
And a lot of black smoke coming billowing over the house, and we just packed and ran.
Totally understandable. So no evacuation route. So just talk us through the kind of information that you were able to get.
We now know that some things were put on Facebook, but we're on holiday. We were in the swimming pool having a really good time, and suddenly we had a phone call saying that there was a potential evacuation. We saw black smoke. The kids went upstairs and suddenly saw fire on the ridge just by our house, and we were out within 10 minutes. Tried to get down to the coast, and that's when we hit the flames with our blocked route, and so we went back over the mountain and over to the other side, actually to the town now that they've just shut off and evacuated tonight, because it's the fire's still raging.
Oh my goodness. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next, guys? Because what you've experienced, this is just horrific.
Yeah, we're in the hotel for a few nights. We're not sure we can go back. Yeah, there's not a lot we can do. We've got to wait until we're given clearance to go back to the house. All our things are there.
Our passports.
So we're currently in the hotel for the next couple of nights until we're told hopefully we can go back to the house and everything's okay at the house.
Hopefully still standing.
And in terms of the local community, are you getting support from the locals?
Everybody's grouping together. There's an app that everybody's following. There's some information on Facebook. The reality is the firefighters and the authority, everybody's up there working on it. So there isn't a huge amount of information, but the priority is that they put the fire out. So we're okay with that.
Okay, well, look, thank you so much for sharing your awful experience, absolutely devastating. But we're so pleased, Riaz and Lucinda, that you and the kids are safe and you've got somewhere to stay. And we really, really wish you the best of luck for the next few days ahead.
Thank you.
We have much more on those wildfires in Spain on our website as well, and we really do, if you want to share your experiences, do get in touch with us here at the BBC. Now, turning from Spain to France, which is activating an extreme heat emergency plan for the first time in all areas. 9 departments in western France are being put on the highest heatwave alert today. 24 will be affected on Saturday. France is suffering its 3rd crippling heatwave of the year. Wildfires are multiplying as a result of the intense heat and drought. And like I say, much more on the extreme heat across Europe on our website. Now we're going to take a very short break. Around the world across the UK, you're with BBC News. Hello, welcome back. You're with BBC News. The budget airline Ryanair has confirmed that a passenger aboard a flight from Greece to Germany required medical attention after an aircraft window became dislodged shortly after takeoff. The man was reportedly nearly sucked out of the cabin. Theo Leggett has the story.
The aftermath of a terrifying incident. Passengers described a loud bang and then a window on the plane shattered. As oxygen masks fell from the ceiling, one man was partially sucked out of the window, they said. The 18-year-old Ryanair Boeing 737 had just taken off from Thessaloniki in Greece en route for Memmingen in southern Germany. According to flight data, the plane was still climbing when the incident occurred. It rapidly lost altitude and then circled for about 40 minutes before returning to the airport. Crucially, it appears the passenger who was sucked out was still wearing his seatbelt when the window broke.
We do, as captains, always say to the passengers, please keep your seatbelts fastened as a precaution in flight, even when we switch the belt signs off.
Ryanair said after the plane landed, a passenger had requested and received medical assistance. That passenger has been identified by medical authorities in Greece as a 61-year-old Serbian man, now recovering in hospital. It's not clear why the window broke. Reports in Greece say it was hit by debris following a serious engine failure. Something similar happened to this Southwest Airlines 737 in 2018. Debris from a catastrophic engine failure broke a window, and a passenger was partially sucked out. She later died from her injuries. However, analysts point out that with more than 100,000 flights taking place around the world every day, accidents like this are very, very rare. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
King Charles and Queen Camilla have hosted Prince Harry and Meghan and their children Archie and Lilibet. Earlier, the Duke of Sussex was welcomed by enthusiastic supporters of his Invictus Games as he arrived at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. Our correspondent Noor Nanji has more.
There's been so much speculation over this for the best part of a week, really. Would this meeting happen? We didn't even know whether Meghan and the two children would be here in the UK. But this is really significant because it is the last time that the King saw his grandchildren was more than 4 years ago, back in 2022. So from a personal perspective, you can see why this is really important. So as you say, this confirmation just coming in the last hour or so from Buckingham Palace, confirming that the King and Queen did host Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, at Highgrove House earlier this afternoon. Now, if you're expecting to see a photo, sometimes we do see photos of events like this, we won't be seeing one. Buckingham Palace has been clear that this is a private family occasion, so there will not be any imagery or photographs released from this meeting today. But clearly, as I say, really significant. You know, Prince Harry has spoken about his desire for a reconciliation with his family. Of course, we know that relations there have been strained ever since Prince Harry and Meghan moved to the US and stopped being working royals. And in last year's interview with the BBC News, he spoke about his desire for reconciliation. He then went on himself to meet the King at Clarence House. But we know that sources say that there was a desire from King and Prince to meet on this trip as well, and also that the King was keen to meet with his grandchildren. So we know now that that meeting has happened in private and that we won't be getting any photos of it. I think it is worth mentioning that while this meeting was happening at Highgrove House, we know that Prince William was at a charity polo match in Windsor, and there are no plans for Prince William and Prince Harry to meet on this trip. That relationship between the brothers still remains strained.
Our thanks to Noor Nanji. Now, a consultation is being launched in the UK on plans to stop vapes being marketed to children. Proposals include selling them in plain packaging and a ban on flavour names relating to sweets, desserts and alcohol. Our health correspondent Catherine Burns reports.
Are you tempted by this? Cherry cola? A refreshing pink lemonade? Or a drop of the harder stuff, maybe a mojito? Or a limoncello? If sweets are more your thing, some blue raspberries? We're not talking about drinks and sweets though. These are also vape flavours. It's thought 1 million 11 to 17-year-olds tried vaping last year.
But governments across the UK say these kind of flavours are too appealing to children. They want them banned. They say flavour names should be simple and recognisable, like apple, strawberry or mint. And they want no more bright, colourful packaging like this. Plain white only, they say.
Today we're launching a 12-week consultation about our plans to make vaping less attractive to children and young people, because I think we all recognise that vaping has a role to play for adults to stop smoking and go onto vaping instead. But I don't think any of us want children and young people to start vaping in the first place.
I feel like apple and strawberry, it still sounds kind of appealing, right? It's still fruity.
I think it's definitely trying to appeal to younger kids, and it's not right, really. More research needs to be done and more regulation, for sure.
I think it'd be like taking smoking ads off TV. Like, it would definitely have it would have a hindering effect on like children buying them, I think.
Another idea is to force manufacturers to stop making the vapes themselves so bright, to limit them to black, white or grey, and to only have screens with basic information like battery levels. So far, the vaping industry has been largely on board with plans like this. But there's one proposal they really don't like. At the minute, there aren't any rules about how shops display vapes, but the idea is to put them under the same restrictions as cigarettes, out of sight.
To put these products behind the counter, behind shutters, that's just, in our case, a step too far. It will put every single vape shop in the country out of business. It will potentially send people back to smoking. It's just an absolute disaster waiting to happen.
We still don't know the long-term impacts of vaping. Health experts say children and non-smokers should not take it up. This is all part of wider steps to stop young people vaping. Catherine Burns, BBC News.
There is much more on that story, those consultation plans on our website. We are continuing to keep an eye on what is happening not in the matches themselves, in the fan zones. This is Spain, Madrid, where the fans, a little bit of anxiousness there. That was, no miss, it looks like. And this is important because right now, Spain versus Belgium, it's 1-1. It's the first goal that Spain has conceded in this tournament. So Brussels there looking a little bit more hopeful.
Hello there. We've seen the heat wave developing more widely in the strong sunshine. Over the weekend, it may not be quite as hot. There's going to be a stronger wind in some places as well. Also got some cloud and some rain in Scotland. It's been affecting northern Scotland. Could slip a little bit further south. Some more cloud for Northern Ireland. And a lot of misty low cloud in the North Sea will push its way towards eastern England by Saturday morning. Another warm one, mind you, although not quite as warm in the southeast as it was last night. For many parts of England and Wales, it'll be dry and hot and sunny on Saturday. There is this cloud across eastern England. It'll burn off inland but could linger around some coastal areas. And whilst the rain will move away from Scotland, there'll be more cloud here, as there will be in Northern Ireland. So here temperatures are going to be lower. And it's not going to be as hot across eastern parts of England. Those winds are pushing the heat further west. Temperatures of 32, 33 degrees are still quite likely. We've got high pressure centred to the north of the UK, and it's around it that we're drawing in this east to northeasterly wind. That's bringing in some slightly cooler air as well. The winds could be a bit stronger actually for England and Wales on Sunday, but it looks like it's going to be dry and sunny. The cloud will break up across Scotland, and we've got more sunshine in Northern Ireland. Here temperatures could be back into the mid-20s, but for England and Wales in that stronger wind, temperatures will be a little bit lower still, but it's still hot in places, could make 31 in the south.
How is artificial intelligence changing the face of retail around the world? Do customers want and trust it? And just how soon, if ever, will companies get a return on the billions of dollars they're investing? That's this week on Talking Business here on BBC News.
I'm on an epic trip across America, marking 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. Taken in Chicago's soul food, meeting the Cowboys of Utah, seeing the ever-changing city of Las Vegas, and over for a unique perspective of San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. That's the travel show in America on BBC News.
Ukraine has been increasing its drone attacks across Russia, trying to force it into peace talks. It's been hitting targets in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and now Crimea, which Russia annexed illegally 12 years ago. That land is very important politically and personally to Vladimir Putin. So how will he respond? Join us here on BBC News.
I knew signing up to this was going to absolutely ruin my credibility.
Inside world sport's most controversial training camp. Preparations for the enhanced games, where drugs banned elsewhere in sport are part of the process.
I want to be able to run the fastest time as possible and push my body to the limit.
I'm really excited. I'm quite open about taking things.
I think it's extremely irresponsible. Some of the effects are irreversible.
Sport has long waged an arduous and ongoing battle against drugs cheats in a bid to preserve the integrity of competition and ensure that those watching can believe what they see.
It'll be the most dramatic story out of these Olympics or perhaps any others. Ben Johnson of Canada has been caught taking drugs
But at the enhanced games, the usual rules don't apply.
It worked really well.
It sends a dangerous message about performance-enhancing drugs.
The message is clear. Do not try this at home.
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
Here at BBC Verify, we use forensic investigative techniques and tools to fact-check stories, verify information and counter disinformation. Using data analysis and the latest technology, our journalists examine the evidence and get to the facts. Watch our BBC Verify reports on the BBC News channel or go online to find out more.
Hello, welcome. I'm Kasia Madeira. You're with the context on BBC News. Police arrest a man on suspicion of murdering the former British government minister and television personality, Anne Widdecombe. Wildfires in southern Spain kill at least 12 people. 4 of them are believed to be British. At least 23 others are still missing. Ryanair admits that an aeroplane cabin window dislodged mid-air. People on board say a passenger was nearly sucked out. Buckingham Palace announces that Prince Harry, Meghan and their children have met with King Charles and Queen Camilla. Spain and Belgium are drawing 1-1 as the second half of the quarterfinals of the World Cup is underway. These are watching parties in Brussels and Madrid. So let's pick up on the World Cup action. We can cross over to the BBC Sports team. My colleague Ollie Foster joins us live now. And Ollie, Spain has conceded their first goal in this whole tournament.
Yeah, they have, Kasia. That's right. We're watching that match too, the second of the quarterfinals. They're well into the second half in Los Angeles. They've just had that second half hydration break. The European champions Spain taking on Belgium. Spain really dominated the first half, scoring first through Fabian Ruiz. But Charles de Catalara equalised by half-time. A really good header. It is 1-1, about 20-25 minutes left to play. The Belgians had an injury blow before kick-off. Their captain, Yuri Tielemans, withdrawn from the starting 11. We think he's picked up some kind of injury in the warm-up. France are waiting for the winners of this in the semis. It might be a long old wait because it's heading for extra time as it stands. Right, let's move away from the football to the tennis. The men's singles final at Wimbledon. That's going to be between the world number 1 Yannick Sinner and Alexander Zverev. Zverev, the French Open champion, beat this man, one of the stories at the All England Club this year. The British wildcard, Arthur Ferry, has been knocked out in that semi-final. Ferry started the...
Definitely a step up today. Yeah, we know how well he can play. He was hitting his forehand really well, I thought. Really going big, and that's the side that maybe not that he struggles with, but that he has maybe more good days but also bad days on. And I felt like today he was hitting it really big. Didn't seem to affect him when he missed. Maybe it would have been a bit different if I had applied a bit more pressure on him.
So Ferry out.
Stiff enough, not balanced enough to play him, and that's it. You know, there's not much I could do on the court.
That's not all football and tennis. Belgium's Tim Merlier has won the 7th stage of the Tour de France. The flat 175-kilometre ride to Bordeaux took just shy of 4 hours for the riders. Ended up with a sprint finish. Merlier timed his effort to perfection, really in compatriot Jasper Philipsen and Eritrea's Biniam Girmay to secure the victory. The reigning champ Tadej Pogacar has held on to the yellow jersey. Saturday stage is another flat one into Bergerac. A quick update from LA. It's still 1-1 between Spain and Belgium in their World Cup quarter-final. That's all for now. You can follow that on the BBC Sport website.
Oh, agonising, but you've got to hand it to Belgium. Ollie.
They are hanging on in there. It's heavy favourites, but the Belgians... they are holding their own, defending very well, Kasia.
They certainly are, Ollie. Thank you so much. Ollie Foster there with all the sport. We're going to keep it all things World Cup because away from Spain, Belgium right now, and yet still 1-1. I'm keeping an eye on that. Norway players and fans are stealing the show with their viral football chant. The Viking-inspired fan ritual is rooted in ancient Norwegian rowing traditions and will be a main spectacle as they take on England in their quarter-final clash on Saturday. The craze has even spread to politicians in the Norwegian parliament. I kid you not, just have a look at this.
Første slaget kommer. Heia Norge!
Amazing, isn't it? Now, I actually did speak to the guy who says that he created this and made it really go viral in terms of people continuing to do it. But we're going to learn about Viking history for the time being. Odd Tonneson is director of the University of Oslo's Museum of Cultural History and Museum of the Viking Age. Welcome so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Of course, we're talking about this ahead of the Norway-England match, but we're seeing this incredible this rowing effort by not just politicians, it's the fans as well. Remind us why the Viking heritage is so important to Norway.
Well, the Norwegians are very much identified with Viking history. That plays a vital part in who we are and who we were and how we understand each other, ourselves still now. The Viking, we identify with the Vikings as adventurers, travelers, traders, maybe not so much about the looting and raping, but still they were people who traveled far and broad. They were skilled seafarers, skilled workcraft people. They had strong women. So there's a lot of the history that has been informative to the Norwegian identity.
So why the football team? Why take on that identity during this World Cup tournament?
I think the idea came from, in one way, because the Viking plays such a vital role in the history and the identity of the Norwegians. I think that it became kind of self-evident that if you were going to do something about a theme, then it had to be a Viking theme. And then there is the story about Leif Erikson, the Viking born on Iceland by Norwegian heritage, traveled from Greenland to Vineland, as he called it, but it was in fact North America around year 1000. So this image of Leif Erikson traveling overseas to maybe we don't know, maybe be the first European to enter to America. That was kind of the image that they wanted. So now the Vikings are back again in America to conquer, to beat, to fight, and to have fun.
And in a word, Owen, are they going to conquer England tomorrow?
Oh, that is such a good question. You know, England plays such a vital part in the history of the Viking Age, with the Lindisfarne, the looting of the Lindisfarne in 1793. And then, of course, Harald Hardrades, who tried to defeat England in 1066 and lost his life on Stamford Bridge. So, of course, we hope that maybe this will be the time to restore the honor. But England has a very, very strong team, so they are clearly a favourite.
We shall see. We shall see. Odd Tonneson, thank you so much, Director of the University of Oslo's Museum. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to stick with the history lessons, because now I can tell you that the Bayeux Tapestry has arrived back in the UK for the first time in more than 900 years. The 68-metre-long masterpiece crossed the Channel in a climate-controlled lorry under police escort. It's going on display at the British Museum from September. Katie Razzle watched it arrive.
In the dead of the night, the wait was over. A precious cargo delivered. The Bayeux Tapestry is back in Britain for the first time in nearly 1,000 years. History in the making. To the relief of the waiting dignitaries, one of whom had really dressed for the occasion.
It probably sounds a bit strange to be that excited about just seeing a lorry reverse into a loading bay and a box removed, but when you consider
the object within it, how old it was, how close to the events it depicts it was made, and by people who lived through those events. It's really profound. I did well up a little bit seeing it taken off the lorry, so I imagine I'll probably be in floods of tears when I actually see it.
The Bayeux Tapestry is actually an intricate 70-metre-long work of embroidery, which tells the story in 58 scenes of the events leading up to the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and the Norman conquest of England. It took 90 people working carefully in tandem to take it off display in Normandy last year when the Bayeux Museum shut for renovation. Its loan to the UK sparked a petition in France to stop it, with fears it would be damaged in transit. But President Macron, who revealed last night that the tapestry was on its way, posting a projection of thanks on the White Cliffs of Dover, was determined this would bring Britain and France closer.
So do you think you can guarantee that when it gets out and into the museum and you check it over,
that's the goal,
there will have been no damage?
That's the goal, exactly. Like a museum would never do something that imperiled an object in its care or in its collection.
This is the exact spot where, up until just a few moments ago, the Bayeux Tapestry was. Of course, it's now been taken inside the museum, but it was transported here in the dead of night. And it wasn't the first time this truck has made that journey, because they have done several dry runs. That was to measure the vibrations, to make sure that they could keep the artwork as safe as possible.
They'll find out whether the meticulous planning has paid off when they open the crate and begin to examine it. People lucky enough to get tickets to see the tapestry while it's here have another 2 months to wait until it goes on display. Katie Razzle, BBC News.
Have you got a ticket? Let us know. We're going to take a short break now. Around the world across the UK, you're with BBC News. Hello, welcome back. You're with BBC News. When the Trump-backed Gaza peace plan came into effect last October, the UN reported that just 4% of Gaza's pre-war farmland was accessible and undamaged. 8 months on, Israeli forces continue to occupy much of the territory's agricultural land, leaving most Gazans dependent on aid or often unaffordable food markets. With access to fresh fruit and vegetables still limited, one seed bank in central Gaza is helping locals take control of their own food security, as Thea White now reports.
2 years of war has not only devastated Gaza's infrastructure, but also its ability to feed itself. The food supply is unreliable, prices are high, and even for those who can afford it, there's little choice in what to eat. Many Gazans have turned to growing their own food, and a small seed bank funded by the International Committee of the Red Cross is helping to give farmers some security.
The Gaza Strip is besieged and completely closed. Some seeds were close to extinction, and some have already disappeared. So we try to preserve them. We achieve self-sufficiency. I become a producer. I become able to overcome the loss of some seeds and the disappearance from the market.
Salama Mohanna and his daughter Hanadi started the seed bank project in 2017 to collect local seeds and give farmers a reliable supply. It was destroyed when Israeli forces advanced into Gaza in 2024. Now from a tent, Salama and Hanadi have started again.
The war pushed most residents of the Gaza Strip toward agriculture.
whether farming next to tents, in home gardens, or in rooftops for those who were not displaced. Almost every individual in Gaza practiced agriculture during the war over the past 3 years. This was due to the high prices of vegetables in the market and their scarcity.
But this project accounts for only a tiny fraction of Gaza's food needs. The UK was among a number of countries last month to describe the aid coming into Gaza as insufficient, both in terms of quality and quantity. The Israeli authority responsible for bringing aid into Gaza told us that, going by UN guidelines, they'd allowed 4 times the food needed into the territory since the ceasefire with Hamas was struck last year.
I spoke with a farmer.
The International Committee of the Red Cross says the situation isn't good enough. Foreign journalists aren't allowed into Gaza, so I talked to their spokesman in the territory remotely.
Farming in Gaza, it's an incredibly difficult situation right now. There is very little space. The soil that is available has been reused again and again, so that it's very poor. The soil itself is exhausted, as are the farmers. And then on top of that, you have the restrictions on what is able to be brought in to support agriculture in Gaza itself. So no seeds, no fertilizer, no nursery soil to support new seeds.
Despite these challenges, Salama and Hanadi's work is starting to take root. And farmers in Gaza, for now, have options. Theo White, BBC News.
There's been outrage after a bonfire with a replica mosque placed on top was set on fire in County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. A warning, viewers may find the following images distressing. Now, this replica mosque on a tall structure of wooden pellets was due to be set alight in front of large crowds on Friday, but it was lit a day early as police were preparing to remove it. Politicians across the UK, Muslim groups and rights groups have condemned the act. 56-year-old Brian Conrad Neil, charged with incitement to hatred, has appeared in court. Our correspondent in Belfast, Sarah Gervin, is following developments.
The bonfires are lit in some unionist areas across Northern Ireland at this time of year to usher in the 12th of July, the main date in the parading calendar for the Orange Order. Now, not all bonfires are controversial, but this one in Moygashel, a village in County Tyrone, certainly has been. That replica of a mosque put on top of that bonfire, which was set alight last night, has received widespread condemnation politically, and many politicians here asking for it to be removed. We also heard from some representatives of the Muslim community here in Northern Ireland, and they said that it was insulting and distressing to Muslims. Now, in terms of what happened last night in Moygashel, that bonfire was set alight one day early. We've heard from the PSNI on this, the Police Service of Northern Ireland. They've told that they had commenced a significant and complex policing operation to remove that effigy, which it described as a hate display. They said the operation, which we understand was going to involve several hundred officers and specialist equipment, was at an advanced stage when the bonfire was lit. Now, it's believed that bonfire organisers anticipated that action by police, and that's why they set it alight. Now, a 56-year-old man has appeared in court in Dungannon this morning, charged with inciting hatred. He is Brian Conrad Neil from the town, and he was connected to that charge by a detective. Now, the detective told the court that Mr. Neil was seen assisting 2 men with signs on the bonfire, because as well as that effigy of a mosque, there were 2 signs placed upon the structure that read, "Secure our borders and end the threat of radical Islam." Now, Mr. Neil, we heard, said he didn't read the signs and said that he'd been approached by 2 masked men to help him with the structure on top of the bonfire due to his training as a tree surgeon. Now, bail was denied in his case and he was remanded in custody. Now, we have heard from the organisers of this bonfire, the Moygashel Bonfire Association. This has been a controversial bonfire in the past as well. Last year, an effigy of a migrant boat was placed on top of it. They said this year's display combined cultural expression with political protest. And the latest from the PSNI, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, on this is that their investigation into what they've described as a hate-motivated crime continues.
Thanks to Sarah Gervin for that report. Now we're going to go back to the developments here in the UK, where police have arrested a man on suspicion of murdering Anne Widdecombe. Now her last public appearance was an interview on Wednesday for the channel Talk TV. In it, she was asked her opinion on the decision earlier this week by Reform's Nigel Farage to resign his parliamentary seat and force a by-election before the results of a House of Commons Standards investigation. Well, here's some of what Anne Widdecombe had to say.
Nigel is challenging that establishment, and he's called this the establishment versus the people, and I think that just about sums it up. And I'm delighted that he's taken this, because the attitude previously of politicians was that you just had to endure it. You gritted your teeth, and if you were being subject to fame after fame after fame and it wouldn't go away, you just carried on until your position became untenable. He's taking, and I drew the analogy with policy decisions earlier, he has taken this decision because he wants an end one way or the other. And he's right to do this. They're going to lack credibility if there's a by-election and a huge majority for Nigel. There's going to be a great lack of credibility if he's still handed and pursued.
Does this establishment of which you and Nigel speak actually exist?
Yes, I believe it does. Now, I didn't always believe in that theory, but I do think now that different parts of the establishment act in ways which I think are extremely questionable. We saw it in the banking scandal. And suddenly you realise it wasn't just Nigel, a whole load of other people as well who didn't have the ability to publicise and fight it. So, yes, I think the establishment is there in that sense, yes.
Anne Widdecombe there in her last public appearance on television. That interview was on Wednesday on Talk TV. Well, throughout her life and career, Anne Widdecombe was indomitable, feisty, principled, passionate. So let's look back at some of those moments.
I am not against a utopia in which everybody has an equally excellent education.
We've now got a mandate from the British electorate, so I think it's a great opportunity that we've been given, and like Mrs Thatcher, I think it's a very major trust which we must discharge.
We are guaranteeing to you the NHS for the next 50 years and beyond. We demean our high office if we mistreat our public servants.
Do you vote in elections? If not, you should. But you might like to tell me why you don't.
I hereby declare the following candidates have been duly elected for the South West region. Anne Noreen Widdecombe, the Brexit Party.
Tonight reaffirms the vote of 2016 because there was only one reason for voting for the Brexit Party, and that was if you wanted a Brexit.
Britain is leaving, and it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going.
Just some of the moments of Anne Widdecombe in action there, an extraordinary career. Now, new guidance issued by the UK's chief medical officers has warned that prolonged sitting down is harmful to people's health. The recommendations rely on new evidence which shows that even small amounts of movement can add up to provide significant benefits. Dominic Hughes reports.
You can't help but not be enjoying this, can you? You're out here on a day like today, you just feel a buzz.
Andy describes himself as a former couch potato, and now look at him.
You can find nice paths everywhere, can't you?
A few years ago, he decided to start cycling the couple of miles to work. From there, he got the bug, and now he's out several times a week.
Cycling is my primary form of, well, I don't call it exercise, that's the point. I know it is exercise, but I don't call it exercise because, in my view, when I'm going out cycling, I'm just enjoying getting out. The fitness is the byproduct of the pleasure.
The new guidance from the chief medical officers restates previous advice that 150 minutes, 2.5 hours of exercise is the sweet spot. It's in that range of activity that the biggest improvements in health are seen.
When they talk about activity, really what they're talking about is movement. And that can be anything. It can be cycling, like this, or it could be walking, it could be dancing. It applies from young to old, so it could be a baby wriggling around on its tummy on the floor, or walking out to go and get a cup of coffee or going to do the shopping.
If physical activity was a drug, we would call it a miracle cure. It's about progress, not perfection. You know, when we talk about exercise with this, sometimes we create this concept, this belief that somehow it's about going to the gym, lots of intense physical, vigorous exercise. It's not. It's about the things we can do every day and should be doing every day and building that into our everyday life. And if we do that, we're more likely to stick with it.
Good advice. Our thanks to Dominic Hughes. I can tell you that Spain is now leading Belgium 2-1. Lots more coming up here on BBC News.
Hello there. We've seen the heat wave developing more widely in the strong sunshine. Over the weekend, it may not be quite as hot.